that people are going to face when they start getting in here and start building bots. And this is something that kind of came up because we hired a new guy, Steve, to be one of our first bot doctors in the platform to help people out as they get in there and to help diagnose issues. The plan is to have a lot of bot doctors in the future in there, but Steve is the first guy that comes from the community. Really great guy that we just hired last week. And I was going through and kind of building out some bots with him. And I think that even for somebody who is really experienced, a veteran trader, has been around the block a few times, it still is going to be a challenge for traders getting in there. And I think it all comes down to just thinking through the entire trading process. I don't know if you want to call it mind mapping or road mapping or sketching it out, but until now, I think that everyone has been afforded the opportunity to be semi-lazy with how they execute their strategies because they can always do things dynamically, right? They can always log in and make an adjustment or log in and do something a little bit off script, right? And the challenge that people are going to have as they get in here, and potentially the best opportunity anyway, is to really think about their strategy from start to finish and think in terms of like what happens next with every single bot and position and automation that you build. Because what we can do, I think I just skipped out there for a second. I think I froze for a little bit. Let me know if I did. But what you can do inside of the automations and inside the bots is truly like limitless and possible combinations and things you can do. But I want to make sure that you really, really think through every step in the process. Like what happens when a position gets entered? What happens when a position gets exited? When does a position come back online? What are the checks and balances? And the challenge for us has always been in building out all this technology is this idea that we want to give you all of the components to make it really flexible, right? So we want to give you component A and component B and component C. And sometimes I think that people are going to come to us and say, well, why don't you smash all those together? And like, why do I have to do things in, 2 decision steps versus just combining it into one? And the reason that we do that specifically is so that you can be crazy, crazy flexible with how you put this together. So hopefully this is not freezing too much, but let me just share my screen here and kind of go through this. So here's the thing, right? So if you're in here and you're building out a potential bot, and let me know if you guys can see this or not, but if you're in here and you're building out a potential bot, like in this case, this one I call Trend Plus Momentum, right? It's just a little easy bot. It kind of does a couple little additional things, like it does some trend and it does potentially some momentum. I think that what you have to really think about, and this is a good example of it, is how do you get into positions? How do you exit positions? When do you do all of those things? Because we do give you the possibility to make this really strategic and highly focused if you want to, or we give you the ability to just let the bots run continuously, right? Like there's so many ways you can do this. So in this case with this Trend Plus Momentum, what this one is basically doing is just doing a quick check to see if some ticker that you put in here, and again, these are variable fields. You can make this a variable and an input later. Some ticker that you're looking at has a 50-day SMA above a 200-day. And then you're also checking to make sure that the ticker is above its 30-day moving average. Now you could put all of those, collapse them into one, but you can also split it out like this so that you just want to see if a stock is in an uptrend. And then you want to see if it has recent momentum just moving up in the last 30 days. So above its recent momentum. And then the goal would be to sell some sort of short put spread or something else and, allocate it however you want. So that's great, right? It can go in and it could do all of that. But in this case, I set this one up deliberately, and I did this in the settings. I said, you know what, this one can do 10 positions per day with a total of 10 positions at a time. So the first day that it came in, boom, 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 it did a bunch of positions right away. Now, I think that some people are going to go, oh, wait. I wanted to only trade this position like once per week, right? And this is where I think paper trading is going to be so valuable for everybody when they get in there. It's the reason why everybody who starts is going to be defaulted to paper trading first, so you can get your, hands dirty with the bots, if you will, and kind of like, figure out where the breaking points are and think through your strategy. But this is a good example of where I could easily see somebody coming in and saying, oh, well, yeah, I wanted it to continuously run and look for a position, but only enter a position one time per week, right? So this particular bot is set up so that the automations scan every 15 minutes. So if you don't have, or if you haven't thought through like, oh, I only want one new position per day, then it would have entered 10 positions right away. So this is where you would go in and you would say, okay, I got to really think through this and I got to put my daily limit at one position per day, right? I don't want to enter more than one position per day. I could have 10 positions in total, but I don't want to enter more than one position per day. Does that make sense as I'm going through this right now? For those of you who are live streaming, you can put it in there. So yeah, I think that David had a great one here where David said, so in this example, it might make more sense to have an event instead of a scanner. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like this kind of thinking of just thinking through your strategy and going, okay, what do I really want to accomplish with this? Do I really want this thing to enter and continuously look for things? Or do I want to schedule a series of events like once per day, right? Or once every other day, or, like once every third day or whatever it is, or just on Monday and Tuesday and Friday. Like it's thinking about that type of thing a little bit differently than maybe what you're used to doing right now. So in this case, if we wanted to do this potentially as an event, we would just schedule the event to run on a repeating schedule or on a specific date or at some other, sequence that we want. And so we can run this trend with momentum spread on a very specific schedule. And then again, you have an input for a ticker symbol and you put it in there and now it's running that way. So that's how I think that the challenge that a lot of people are going to have is thinking through that type of logic as to how positions are going to get in, how positions are going to get, executed and managed. In this case, just to take this one just one step further, if you look at this position and this is, let's say this is our trend with momentum spreads, right? We just want to enter just a short put spread only if it's in a aggressive uptrend. Then you also got to build out the monitor actions. So in this case, if you never had the events, you just remove the events and you never had the monitor action in here and it was just this, then only the bot would just open positions. And maybe that's what you want. Maybe you want the bot just to open positions and you want to be the one to come in here and close all the positions manually yourself. But I think that people don't want to do that. And they might just let their bots start with a bunch of scanners, forgetting that, oh yeah, that's right, I've got to add some monitor actions to watch what's going on with this position, right? So in this case, you got to add your put spread manager or whatever you want to call it to go through the list of decisions that you want for each put spread position that you have. And again, you can add different types of managers. One could be for put spreads. One could be for all positions. One could be for iron condors. You could manage iron condors differently than put spreads, differently than long call options, differently than long put options. You could really be very dynamic with how you put it together. In this case, our put spread manager goes through a long sequence of decisions. It checks to see if it has a 50% profit. Then it checks to see if the position's been open for more than 10 days. So this is a really interesting one that I kind of thought about with this particular bot that I was just testing and building out. But what if you want to exit the position if the symbol is now below the 30-day SMA? If you didn't put this step in place, it could be a case where the position gets opened right away, and then the next day, the symbol trades right below its 30-day moving average, maybe because it just crossed above it, and now the position gets removed. Maybe that was too soon. Maybe you wanted to at least keep the position open for 10 days, right? I mean, that would be like a really useful example of how you can use these strategic decisions inside of your bot builder to allow yourself to maintain the position for a certain period of time. In this case, only start going through decisions about, is the price below a 30-day moving average or does it expire in 3 days? Only do this branch of the decision tree once the position's been open for 10 days. So it's kind of like you're going to take a profit, but you're not going to do anything else to close it or use a stop loss or a trigger on a technical until the position's been open for 10 days. And that's a really interesting way to go about it. Is that the only way to go about it? Of course not. But if you don't think through all of those steps, which I think is going to be the most challenging part for most people, is the requirement to actually think through all of these steps in advance, or at the very least, start your bots in paper mode and let them start making trades and see what they're doing, and then edit them on the way, as they're making trades, right? Go in and go, oh yeah, that's right, I forgot to do that one step. Like I forgot to say, I only want to enter positions, or exit it after it's been open for 10 days. Like I love keeping my positions open for 10 days first, then I would exit a position, right? So we'll help out as much as we can on all this, of course, and Steve and some of the new guys that we're hiring, as bot doctors will help out. But this is really going to be, I think, the biggest challenge that people have is just like really thinking through your strategy and walking through in your mind, like what decisions do you make now and when? And do you make dynamic decisions at different stages? Because you can build all that out. You can get crazy complex with this if you want to, but you just have to think it through. You have to really think it through. Like, when would I exit? When would I adjust? When would I tweak or enter a strategy? Do I want to limit the bots some way and, doubling up on positions? You can do that. There's a lot in there. So does that make sense for those of you who are in here? Mark said, is the idea RIB develop a decision tree first, then building a bot for each decision? I'm not sure I understand that question, so just let me know. But the idea with the decision trees is just to build out a sequence of automations that you can use across a bunch of different bots. So it doesn't have to be one specific bot that you're trading right now. It could be a bunch of different bots that you're trading. And you could reuse a lot of the same decisions across a couple different bots. In this case, with this one that I built out, this put spread manager in and of itself, that put spread manager could be reused in a bunch of different bots that are trading different put spreads, right? The entry could be different with the scanners, but the exit and management could be exactly the same. So I think this is going to be for sure the challenge, is really thinking through all these steps and all these processes for traders as they continue to move forward. Okay. So hopefully that helps out. I know this wasn't a long one, but again, what I wanted to just really kind of get across here today was just the idea of like, take the time now that you have it to go ahead and start thinking through and start scripting out all of the different steps that you might go through in your trading, and really take the time to think about when you would get in, when you would get out, what types of limitations you want on the trading, because all of that is possible inside of the bots. You just have to tell the bots what to do and when, right? They're going to follow the exact instructions that you give it. So you just have to be very clear about what you want it to do and what you don't. Remember, we're going to have a lot of templates that we're building out to give you a good starting point. It's going to give you that good, healthy push off the start line, but it will still be up to you to determine if those are good, if they need tweaks, if they need other things. And of course, we'll help out as much as we can. We'll do a bunch of webinars and demos, and we'll do a bunch of coaching with everyone in there. I think you guys will enjoy it, but that right now is the biggest hurdle that I see people having. And it'll become pretty apparent who has thought out their strategy and who hasn't once people get in there. That's why we give you paper trading right off the bat. Like, this is why you have the ability to paper trade everything, really like test it out for a week or two on a new strategy just to make sure that it's executing the way that you want. So anyways, hopefully you guys are having a great week. If you have any questions, let us know. And until next time.